Welcome everyone. Today I'm interviewing Madonna Melrose, who is the founder and director at Melrose International, and Madonna's based in Melbourne, Australia. Thanks for your time, Madonna.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me. And hi, everybody.
Looking forward to this because we're going to be talking about all things government grants and what that looks like for business owners. And I think it's certainly a topic that a lot of business owners get overwhelmed with and probably don't do much. Hopefully out of this and talking with you, business owners have a lot more understanding and maybe a bit of a roadmap to access government funding. We've had a few chats before today, and I reached out on LinkedIn after Sharon Crombie, who's an awesome bookkeeping business owner and actually one of our business transformation program students, helping her grow a business. And she shared one of your posts, which got my curiosity, and reached out. Here we are today.
Right, and that's how it works.
Absolutely, yes. And kick things off, Madonna, tell our audience a bit about yourself and your experience on this topic of grants.
Absolutely. Well, look, thank you for having me, Mick. And look, very much I fell into it. I've come from the beauty world, totally different world from government grants, kind of like left brain, right brain. I've had to switch from that creative side, but that really helps. And quite often it's those wonderful stories of success that if there's something not there for you and you kind of think, well, if I can't find what I'm looking for, surely there's other people that are in the same boat. How I evolved into the grant space about 13 years ago, I was producing my own skincare range and makeup range, and I was exporting products out of Australia. I was importing products from overseas. I was also doing a lot of beauty editing and beauty writing at the time. GFC hit and I had to close 3 of my beauty stores, but I still had that writing experience. And quite simply, a girlfriend came to me who was in the beauty industry and said, look, you're in this industry with me. You can write. Can you help me apply for this grant? And I was like, wow, why didn't I know about this grant when I was manufacturing and exporting and doing my R&D? Quite simply became the champion for the beauty industry around government grants. At that time, it was just 2 grants we were working with. It was the R&D tax incentive and the export grant. But then, of course, I thought if there's 2 grants, there's got to be at least 3 or 4. And then today we were talking offline, there's 7,000 currently. So my world kind of exploded, moved on also, still doing a lot in the beauty industry. But a lot of people will come to me and say, look, my brother's opening up a winery, or my dad's been making shoes in his Brunswick factory for 30 years. Is there anything for him? So it just grew and grew and grew out of a necessity, but also out of a gap in the market that, as you mentioned on top, that the grant space can be a minefield, and people know there's grants out there. They hear about their competitors getting all these wonderful opportunities and grants, but they don't know where to go or what to do first. So hopefully after today, we'll be able to steer them in the right direction. But yeah, fell into it and absolutely love it. Love helping people.
That's great. As you say, it's nearly poles apart as far as the beauty industry and accessing and writing for grants.
Absolutely different world.
Yeah, but equally, I guess you understand it from a business owner's perspective, right? Having been there.
Yes, I've been on the other side, so I
Yeah.
know what you're going through, what you're needing. That gives me that little bit of edge.
And when you first mentioned, there can be up to 7,000 grants open and available, it's sort of, I knew there was a lot, but it's mind-blowing. It's that sort of reflective of business owners getting overwhelmed and not knowing where to start. Just on that, from a small business owner, they're sitting there going, well, I know there's grants out there, but what's the first step? What do you sort of suggest?
Perfectly said. What I always tell clients and potential clients is you must sign up to your local council's mailing list. Your local council, because within the grant space, there's state, local and federal funding, and we can look at a national overarching grant base, or else we can drill down state by state. We always say make sure you're aware of what your local council are doing, and make sure your local council are aware of you and your business. That's my very first tip. Sign up to their mailing list, because local councils get given a lot of money. If they don't spend it in a financial year, they've got to give it back. And that money then, that shortfall gets taken off from their next round of funding in the following year. Quite often around, May, June-ish, you'll get local councils pretty much giving away a lot of funding. Could be upgrades for new computers, new phones, all that sort of thing for local businesses. So if you're not aware of that, then you can't be in the running. It's kind of like buying a lottery ticket. It's like, oh, I never win the lottery, but I never buy a ticket. You've got to be in that grant space, but you've got to be aware of it first. That's my really first key takeaway, because that will then focus in on specifics for you and your business. You will generally automatically qualify because you are in that local precinct area. That's a big tick, because finding a grant is one thing, but then knowing the assessment and eligibility criteria can then be another another little hurdle to the grant space. But knowing that you're in that municipality and you conduct a business, you have a business address within that local council area, then generally you are eligible for whatever they're offering. There can be programs as well as cash grants. So even it could be a jump on board for a 12-week marketing program or upgrading your digital skills. There's many programs as well as cash. It's just a matter of where you are at that stage of your business growth.
Yeah, that's a good little and simple tip, I guess, to kick things off. So then expanding that out as far as state and federal opportunities, what's your suggestion there?
So you need to be really clear on what your project is that you want funding. The only retrospective grant is the Research and Development Tax Incentive. We can go back 1 year to look at your spend. All the other grants, those 7,000 or so, they are competitive, so there's no guarantee of success, and they are based on your future growth. Before you even start looking for grants, really be clear with your project that you want funding for, and also understand that in helping you and funding your project, there's going to have that flow-on effect to community. So grants aren't going to help you just keep your lights on and help you grow your business or get new clients. Grants are there to help you and that project to then in turn engage community and other businesses around you. That could mean the difference between helping you get new plant and equipment for your factory so that you can then employ more people and create more output of your product you can then export outside of Australia. If your project has these wonderful flow-on effects, then you are going to be considered a lot more highly. Firstly, get that project, that funding, what do you need money for? Don't think about, oh, well, whatever the funding is for, then I'll do a project for that. That's not the way to work it. It's not like that Rubik's Cube. You've got to know what you're looking for and go for it. So that's a big mistake we see people make. They kind of flounder and say, oh, look, there's money over here for this, we'll go for that. But it's totally misaligned to their business growth, their business plan, marketing plan, the language they're using or the project they're wanting money for has got nothing to do with what's being said on their website, their messaging on their socials, and all of that is intertwined. They will look at the messaging from your narrative in the application to what is out there. So just be really, really clear on that particular project that you want money for.
One or more of these growth pillars standing in the way of you living the lifestyle you've signed up for? People, strategy, marketing, funding, or systems. We have a free ebook filled with actions and templates on each of these growth pillars. Download for free from our website, growasmallbusiness.com.
No, that's a really good insight, and I must say I didn't really appreciate the importance of that. Now, having said that, I guess what you're saying is, as a business owner listening, if you don't have business strategy or plan or something similar, then that's probably where you need to start, because I guess the project arguably will fall out of that, depending on your vision for the business and what strategy looks like.
Absolutely. And we often say too that alongside your business plan and your marketing plan, have a grant plan. Know what grants are available, what grants are opening over the next 12 months. Know what their eligibility criteria is and their assessment criteria. Make sure you qualify and tick a lot of the boxes beforehand. Prepare documentation before the grant opens. When it does open, you're not madly scrambling to get your accounts up to date or get a 6-month projection forecast from your accountant, trying to get your business plan to match your marketing plan. You're not scrambling to update the messaging on your website, as I said before. Pre-planning is really important in the grant space. So alongside that marketing plan and business plan for growth, a grant plan can sit really nicely alongside that. And so your staff too are all talking the same language and you're all focusing in the one direction. If you've got people floundering and not quite sure of where the business is going, then that can really detract. But if you're all up to date and you're all focused on that one vision, that one project, that next goal, then magic can happen.
Yeah, no, very good. And I guess, as you say, so it is very much in the planning, and having a grant plan therefore makes a lot of sense. I guess you outlined some of the aspects of what a grant plan should encompass. With respect to, you mentioned forecasting would be needed. What else as a sort of rule of thumb, let's say most grants and funding is needed to support the application?
Absolutely. Look, a really good pitch deck is always very, very good. References, people kind of forget the good old days of Can I get a business reference, or can I get some sort of tutorial around some work that I've done in the past? Don't be afraid to ask your clients for some recommendations and some references and some testimonials, because quite often they're needed. Monthly forecasts and projections. You may need to talk to your accountant about a 6-month plan, like a projected 6-month plan. Some of the bigger grants, contribution or match funding, you might have to put in $1 to every $2 the government gives you. You need to be able to prove and establish that if you are successful and granted the grant, where is that match funding come from? Is it through a line of credit with the bank that you can prove? Is it an approved commercial loan that you've got documentation for? Is there a savings bank account that you can prove? Just line up a lot of areas that can talk to each other once again and that all makes sense. And when and if that's required, it's all there ready to apply and to attach to the application. Every single grant, though, will have its own assessment criteria and eligibility criteria, and we can provide that for you prior, so you can do that checklist and you can see, oh yes, they're asking for XYZ, we've got this, we need to update that, don't have that, so need to work on it. There is a lot of pre-planning. We often say that grants aren't a quick cash grab. They shouldn't be an afterthought. It should really be about that future planning, knowing that there's pools of money there, and work towards that execution of application.
Yeah, that's great. And I think it's not, like you say, there's a lot that needs to go into it and before it. And it's not just a business owner going, well, there's some money there. It's like a bright, shiny object, silver bullet. It's far from it, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's very much, that forward planning. It's like anything, but it's business strategy and it's business 101. You need to know where your business is going. We don't just start up a business and fluff around day to day. There should be some end goal. There should be that future path, that future growth. Where do you see yourself in 3 years, 5 years? How are you going to get there? You could have commercial funding arrangements in place to help you, but the grants can sit alongside that commercial funding as well. One doesn't cancel out the other. You could have some great business money coming through from basic channels, but the grants on top of that, if successful, are just an amazing additional cream to what you're doing. But also grants allow you to look at your business in a totally different light. Often too, we'll say to someone, just apply for a grant. Find one, be it a local one, state, you just find a grant that kind of works with you. Just go through the process at least once. That you take away that mystery, you demystify that whole, oh, I've got to apply for a grant. Just actually do it. And you go, oh, that wasn't so bad. I just have to fill in my name and a few details and got to tell my story and cut and paste and put a few paragraphs together and just go through the process, knowing that chances are you're not going to be successful. But to go through that motion of applying for a grant will set you up and will make you realize that it's not quite as crazy as you thought. It is just follow the bouncing ball, answer the questions, and then refine your pitch and refine your message as you go along. But you've got to be in it to win it. You've got to put your hat in the ring, but also to the connections you make, the industry bodies that you apply for, they then will stand up and take note and they'll go, oh, this sounds like a great company. Oh, I love what this company's doing. They're not quite right for this grant, but oh, you're on the radar then. And then if you apply again the next year, oh, they're still around. It's kind of like the pillars of advertising. You've got to get in their face X amount of times before they remember you. And in the grant space, it's very similar. Keep applying. Let local council know that your business is in their area, and let industry bodies know that you are playing in that space. And it's just a matter of time and process. But the application of the first couple of grants is a real learning curve and gives you a beautiful forensic look at your business. Of course, you'll see, oh my God, I don't have that information. Oh, gee, that information they're asking for, we haven't updated that for 3 years. And my message that I'm saying here now doesn't reflect the message on the website that we developed 5 years ago. It just allows you to look at your business and just see where some parts are that could be brought back up to light.
Yeah, that's fascinating because I've never thought of it from that perspective. And I reckon probably the same with many business owners. Because like you say, it's nearly unpacking the business and working through sort of components of it, puts you in a position where hopefully you're successful with the grants. But it is music to my ears because with Grow Small Business, we are all about helping businesses with their planning and knowing their numbers. And we've got a 10-year financial forecast, which once you've got it, it really unpacks the financial aspects of a business and gives you you the ability then to look at impacts and do some scenarios and winding it back to 1 and 2 years. And that might give you a lot more clarity around people that you need, pricing, a lot of aspects, but comes back where you're coming from with respect to the planning around the funding process. So
Absolutely.
it fits very nicely.
Yeah, so documents that you produce with your clients would most likely be very, very useful for them in that grant application. You really do need to do that work. Another thing to consider too, if you're applying for a grant and you're successful, how is that going to change and shape your business? If you get 500K in your bank account tomorrow, do you have the staff that can then help grow that? Do you have all those things in place? Do you have the output, or do you have the facilities big enough? Do you have the logistics in place? Once again, do you have that staff? Don't just reach for the sky and go for a number. Just make sure that the number you're asking for is sustainable and doable for where you're at with your business, or that you can grow at the same time, because that's really important too. Because you need to do acquittals with grants. Any grant that you're given, it needs to be spent exactly on what you said it's going to be spent on, and you need to acquit at the end of the financial year to prove that that's all what happened. Otherwise, you will have to give it back. You can't go and buy your Ferrari. You've got to actually do what you say you're going to do.
Yes, it would be somewhat awkward if you had to give the money back, right? And you already spent it.
Absolutely. But yeah, spend it on the right things. But yeah, look, it's a beautiful space to play in, but it's a long game. It's not a short game. It really is a long game. And once you get into it, it's kind of a bit addictive. It's like, oh, darn, we didn't get that one. Let's go for this one. And the more you carve them out, the better and more refined you become. And then many losses as you get, you start getting a lot of wins back to back as well. It really is a wonderful space to play in, and it's money. It's there. Currently, there's 96 billion nationally on the table.
Wow.
You've got to put your hand in and say, I just want a little bit of that. I'll be happy.
As you say, you got to be in it to win it, right?
Absolutely.
And I love your tip of just starting small, even might be, as you say, the local council, and just dip your toe in the water and actually have a go at actually applying and go from there. And like you say, practice. The more you do something, the more you practice, the better you get.
Yep, and it just demystifies it, because I do know,
Yes.
and from experience, when I first started looking at grants for my business, I ended up buying shoes off a Chinese website. And I thought, how did I get there? Because it is a bit of a minefield. You log on and you go, oh, that looks like a good grant. You click a little bit more, and then you're out of it, and they've sent you somewhere else. And then, as I said, you end up buying shoes from overseas or something. Doing that grant application is a really good process to demystify it all and just make you realise that it's not quite as difficult as you may have thought, and there's many opportunities. Funds are there for business industry as well as business activity. So you could be in a specific business industry that gets funding, but then your business could be doing certain activities or different streams that can then be funded as well. Don't just assume, oh, I'm in aerospace, that's all I'm going for, or I'm in manufacturing, that's all I'm doing. Once we have conversations, there can be many other little side streams that can be what we call that low-hanging fruit, that smaller amount, but lots of smaller amounts is great. You know, like 5 or 10 little $5,000 or $2,000 grants is just as good as 150K grant. Don't be afraid to go for lots of little smaller ones. Just cut your teeth on them.
Yeah, that's good. As you said before, just be very clear on your business strategy, the marketing strategy, and the projects within it before you embark on it, so you're not sort of wasting time, money, and energy.
Yeah, exactly, because you can lose a lot of time in that grant space. But if you're clear, you're succinct, and you've got all your documents talking to each other, it can be just a simple grab, cut, paste, answer the questions quite succinctly. All of the grants, every single question has a character limit. You can't waffle on. You can't tell the wonderful story about how you started your business on mum and dad's table in the dining room. That's beautiful. And I love hearing those stories. But to be honest, government doesn't care. They just want to know how giving you money, your business money, is going to help generate and stimulate economy for other businesses around you. We say take all the fluff, the bubble and the rainbow out of your narrative and just get straight to the point. And practice will help you cut through that. So, but I want to tell them that bit. It's like, no, they don't want to know. They don't care. They want to know this and this. Fine tune it.
That's fantastic, Madonna. You've given, I think, our listeners some great insights into what funding and grant grants are about and
I
where
hope
some good
so.
opportunities are, and at least some tips as to where to start small essentially, but sort of have everything in place as well. Thanks for your time, and certainly if our listeners want assistance, to reach out to yourself, because this is what you do every day. You're really good at it.
Absolutely. Thank you. No, I was saying absolutely.